For centuries, the House of Rothschild has occupied the inner sanctum of power and gold. With ironclad unity and a predatory sharp eye for profit, they charted their expansion amidst the chaos of a changing world. From the narrow shadows of Frankfurt, they quietly forged a financial empire that would span across continents. In 1744, Mayer Amschel Rothschild was born. He lived in the Jewish ghetto of Frankfurt. It was a narrow world. At both ends, heavy gates stood tall. They were locked tight every Sunday and every night. In those hours, no one could leave. The people were forbidden from farming or crafts. They couldn't even sell new goods. Life was harsh, but Frankfurt had one unique advantage. Every year, the city hosted massive trade fairs. Merchants gathered here from all across Europe. For young Mayer, this was a classroom. Here he saw it all: exchange bills, bonds, and coins. Mayer gradually developed an interest in ancient coins, but it wasn't just a hobby. At the time, the nobility were obsessed with collecting coins and medals. They saw them as symbols of status and taste. Through coins, Mayer was able to bypass the rigid class system and establish direct connections with the powerful elite. He carefully compiled catalogs of coins and mailed them to princes and lords across the land. Mayer's efforts were not in vain. In 1764, he became acquainted with William IX of Hesse-Kassel. The land had a long military tradition, and William rented out his well-trained soldiers to various states, earning vast sums in bonds, bills of exchange, or gold. This made William one of the wealthiest lords in Europe. William was also an avid collector of ancient coins. To win his favor and trust, Mayer sold rare coins to him at extremely low prices. After 5 years of sticking to his low-price strategy, William finally granted Mayer the title of Court Jew in 1769. This title marked Mayer's first opportunity to handle financial affairs for the nobility. Gradually, Mayer's business became diversified. He shifted from selling ancient coins to primarily handling bill discounting for William. His keen skill with money brought him into the circle of European royalty, expanding his business across the various states of Germany. Mayer completed his transformation from a merchant to a banker. But a war changed everything. Napoleon swept across the continent through a series of lightning campaigns. The Napoleonic Wars erupted. William IX was forced into exile. Before fleeing, William placed a large number of bonds and even cash under Mayer's care. This capital later became the core fund for the global expansion of the Rothschild family. The turmoil in Europe made Mayer realize that no matter how much wealth one possessed in a single country, it could be wiped out instantly by war. His vision was no longer confined to Frankfurt, but stretched across the entire Europe. To achieve this goal, he sent his sons to major European cities. His eldest son, Amschel Rothschild, stayed to manage the Frankfurt house. His second son, Salomon Rothschild, went to Vienna. His third son, Nathan Rothschild, headed for London. His fourth son, Karl Rothschild, traveled to Naples. His youngest son, James Rothschild, settled in Paris. At that time, Britain was not only the world's financial center, but also an industrial and manufacturing powerhouse forged by the Industrial Revolution. Deep within Britain, the third son, Nathan, was destined to lift the Rothschild to even greater heights. In 1798, young Nathan arrived in England alone. He carried £20,000 funded by his father. He was ambitious and driven. It didn't take long for him to find the path to immense wealth. Britain's textile industry was booming. Countless small workshops and factories processed cotton into textiles. Nathan observed that every step from raw cotton to textiles was marked up repeatedly, pushing consumer prices sharply higher. He took full control of every production chain and handled the sales of textiles himself. His textiles quickly captured the market at lower prices than his competitors. In a short period, he multiplied his original wealth several times over. By 1808, Nathan had amassed an astonishing fortune, estimated at £200,000. Yet good fortune would not favor him forever. That year, Napoleon continued his conquests across Europe. With the British Navy dominating the seas, Napoleon was unable to launch a direct invasion of Britain. He therefore set out to cripple Britain economically, banning all trade between continental Europe and the British Isles. For Nathan, this was a catastrophic blow. His textile business fell into sharp decline. He needed a new move. While trading goods, Nathan handles a flood of foreign currencies. He discovered that war had shaken the markets. Exchange rates swung wildly from place to place. He came to realize that trading currency was far more efficient and profitable than trading cloth. With substantial capital at his disposal, Nathan followed his father's footsteps, from merchant to banker. In 1811, Nathan founded N.M. Rothschild and Sons in London. He transitioned his business from commodity trading to gold transactions and currency exchange. Nathan knew well that in finance, information is everything and speed is power. Relying on private couriers and even carrier pigeons, he could always quickly obtain exchange rate differences across regions. Through bold currency speculation, the profits began to pour in. Just as Nathan's new bank was rising to new heights, his father Mayer neared the end of his life. In 1812, Mayer passed away in Frankfurt. From his deathbed, he urged his sons, "United, you stand invincible. Divided, you shall fall." These words became one of the bedrock behind the Rothschild Empire's enduring prosperity. From humble origins in a crowded ghetto to one of Europe's most influential financiers, Mayer completed an extraordinary rise through his lifetime. His passing was not the end of the family legend, but a new beginning. His sons were ready. As the Rothschilds built their businesses across different European cities, the continent descended into one of its most turbulent eras. Around 1814, the Napoleonic Wars reached a critical turning point. The Duke of Wellington led tens of thousands of troops against Napoleon's army in northern France. Yet he faced a severe shortage of gold coins to cover military payrolls and procure provisions. Nathan saw the opportunity. In wartime, gold stood as Europe's only reliable currency. Upon learning that a large shipment of gold from the East India Company had arrived in London, he moved instantly. He bought the entire consignment for £800,000 in cash. While Treasury officials struggled desperately with a severe gold shortage, Nathan strode calmly into their offices, with stacks of gold bullion in hand. The war raged on, and Nathan entered the most legendary yet controversial chapter of his life. That June, the moment Wellington defeated Napoleon, Nathan's courier, John Roworth, immediately set off and raced toward the port of Ostend. He crossed the English Channel through the night and arrived in London in the early hours of June 20th. At that same hour, the British government's official courier was still at sea, fighting headwinds, carrying the same news. Nathan learned of Napoleon's defeat a full 24 hours before the British Prime Minister. After learning of the victory, Nathan heavily shorted British government bonds. Panic swept across the market, triggering a wave of selling. When bond prices plummeted to rock bottom, he secretly made massive bottom-buying moves. By the time the official news of victory arrived, bond prices surged instantly. The value of Nathan's bonds multiplied several times, firmly establishing his dominant influence in Britain's financial market from then on. But even the most powerful man in finance had an enemy he could not defeat. In the summer of 1836, Nathan Rothschild passed away suddenly, at the age of 58. As news of his death spreading, government bonds across Europe plummeted. No one could imagine how European finance would function without Nathan. Nathan's passing marked the fall of a financial genius, yet the legacy of their family continued to be written by its other branches. In Paris, the youngest brother, James Rothschild, stepped forward to take the baton. As a Rothschild, James bore immense pressure. Though the family's financial businesses still generated steady and substantial profits, a growing number of competitors emerged, chipping away at their dominance and margins. To restore the family's prosperity, he had to seek new breakthroughs. A new industry caught James's eye: railways. Having witnessed how Britain's rail network revolutionized cargo transportation, he keenly realized that whoever controlled the railways would control the flow of goods and the power to set prices. No longer content with the mere numerical game of making money beget money, he set his sights on something larger, to lay the tracks of an industrial age. In 1845, James founded the Northern Railway Company. From Paris, his lines drove north across France, all the way to the ports on the English Channel. This move allowed him to control all land trade routes from Paris to the English Channel. Through these tracks, James etched his will into the very soil of France. The Northern Railway Company marked the Rothschild family's transformation from financial speculators to industrial capitalists. For nearly a century, the company provided the family with an almost endless stream of cash flow. Yet, as the whistles of the Northern Railway echoed across the French plains, a vastly different scene unfolded beyond the windows. Failed harvests and the monopoly on power pushed popular discontent in France to a breaking point. In 1848, the French February Revolution erupted, triggering severe bank runs in Paris, leaving James's bank on the brink of liquidity collapse. He had no choice but to turn for assistance to his nephew in London, Lionel, the son of Nathan. But for Lionel, bailing out his uncle's branch came with immense risks. Still, he kept his grandfather's words firmly in mind: "United, you stand invincible." The London branch swiftly arranged for a massive shipment of gold coins to Paris, pulling his uncle's bank back from the brink of collapse. As a towering figure of the second-generation Rothschilds, Lionel possessed an exceedingly strong sense of self-pride and an unwavering resolve to defend his ethnic identity. His standing in the financial world had already become unsurpassed. Yet as a Jew, he could never overlook the pervasive social prejudice against his people. To elevate the status of his community, he resolved to enter politics. As a Rothschild, Lionel commanded immense prestige in London. In 1847, he stood as a Liberal candidate for a seat in the House of Commons, representing the City of London, and won the election. Just as he prepared to take his seat, a formidable obstacle stood in his path. By law, every member was required to swear an oath upon the Bible. As a devout Jew, Lionel firmly refused to comply. Lionel did not give up. Over the next 11 years, he ran for election repeatedly and won time and again. Yet he was barred from taking office each time due to the oath. Eventually, thanks to his tireless efforts, the British Parliament passed the Jewish Relief Act in 1858. Lionel was finally allowed to take the oath in his own way. He officially became the first Jewish member of Parliament in British history. As James advanced in age, Lionel gradually emerged as the de facto patriarch of the Rothschild family. Over the following decades, he steered the dynasty into its golden age. Its influence permeated every corner of Europe's economy, politics, and society, earning it the well-deserved title of the sixth great power of Europe. But even the greatest power proved fragile against the surging nationalism of the early 20th century. On June 28, 1914, Archduke Franz Ferdinand, heir to the Austro-Hungarian throne, arrived in Sarajevo. A Serbian nationalist, Gavrilo Princip, waited in the crowd and pulled the trigger. On July 28th, the Austro-Hungarian Empire declared war on Serbia. World War I broke out. The war forced family members onto opposing sides. Among them, Louis von Rothschild of the Austrian branch stood in the most isolated and tragic position. As the head of the nation's most powerful private bank, Louis was compelled to oversee massive issuances of Austrian war bonds. The money flowed into cannons and bullets, ultimately aimed at his own relatives in Britain and France. This self-destructive confrontation within the family stood as the greatest tragedy the Rothschilds suffered during World War I. On November 11, 1918, the bells of armistice echoed across Europe. To purchase shells, grain, and oil from the United States, Europe nearly exhausted their gold reserves. Amid the artillery fire of war, the global financial center quietly crossed the Atlantic Ocean, the United States replacing Europe's long-standing dominance. Though the Rothschilds survived the war, their banking empire had already been overtaken by Wall Street, and the family's golden age was drawing to an end. Time gave the family little respite. Germany descended into one of the worst economic depressions after its defeat. Amidst this turmoil, anti-Semitic sentiment surged across the nation. A new leader capitalized on this wave of anger and rose quickly to power as chancellor. His rise would write the final chapters of the Rothschild dynasty's decline. In 1939, Germany launched a blitzkrieg against Poland, prompting Britain and France to declare war. World War II broke out. This conflict engulfed more than 2 billion people, claiming an estimated 70 million lives and leaving 130 million wounded. As Europe's most renowned and wealthy Jewish financial family, the Rothschilds naturally became the primary target of Nazi Germany. Faced with an existential threat, most family members were forced to abandon their roots on the European continent and flee into exile. Their assets were plundered and seized. The name Rothschild was nearly erased from continental Europe. After World War II, the Rothschilds stood alongside the victors, yet what lay before them was a fractured empire. The banking branches that had carried European finance for a century were mostly gone. Only the British and French branches remained, struggling to hold on. They strove to rebuild in France and Britain, but the devastating impact of World War II stripped them of the absolute financial hegemony they had held in the 19th century. In the years that followed, the Rothschilds stepped out of the spotlight. They restructured their family enterprises and gradually pivoted toward modern boutique investment banking, wealth management, and wine production. They were no longer the sixth empire of Europe capable of controlling a nation's entire financial system, yet they remained an indispensable hidden force within the uppermost echelons of global finance.